When it comes to the various Naruto pairings, everyone has their favorite pairing. For as many Naru-Hina pairings, you had Naru-Saku pairings. For as many Ino-Sai pairings as you had Sasuke and Hinata pairings. In the Boruto era, we've had a very similar pairing war breakout in the actual fandom between Boruto and Sarada fans and Boruto and Sumire fans and Kawaki and Sarada fans versus the Kawaki and Sumire fans. So like I've done in the past, I want to take a deep dive into the actual pairing wars, and I want to look at the case for Kawaki and Sarada, and I want to give you my thoughts on it. So getting right into it, between all the extra scenes that the animes had, as well as the scenes that the animes directly changed from the manga and the interactions that you get in the actual manga, I can see why so many fans are really big on Kawaki and Sarada. In fact, when we consider the extremely low bar when it comes to romance writing in the Naruto franchise, where it's so simple that it's actually halfway brilliant for a battle shonen, there's more than enough evidence to make the case that Kawaki and Sarada is going to be endgame. One of the more obvious signs is the very clear homage to something that Masashi Kishimoto did in the Naruto manga, where when Sai first met Ino, she became the very first person that he actually complimented, and he didn't do so in a backhanded insult. While it was more so meant to be a moment of comedy, evident by the troll face that Sakura wore when she was waiting on Sai's response, and the response that came immediately after the fact. However, as we all know, Sai called her beautiful, and that was something that a lot of people hung their hats on. In the Boruto franchise, very subtly, we've seen homages being paid to the exact same scene here. While it's different, the actual heart and soul of the scene is kind of similar. So when Kawaki's first introduced, especially in the Japanese raws of the manga, he's being introduced as somebody pretty crude. He's calling people assholes left and right without any regard for their actual feelings. However, in Boruto manga chapter 38, immediately upon seeing Sarada holding flowers, he immediately calls her by her first name, and that's the first time that he ever calls her by her first name. Prior to that, their interaction saw Kawaki treat her much the same as he did everybody else in the manga and call her crude names outside of her name. Now, it's only a small change, but in the Naruto franchise, there aren't overly well thought out and super layered levels of romance that you see in classic battle series that dabble in romance, like say Rurouni Kenshin, and especially a series like Inuyasha that took the love triangle aspect and completely ran with it. With Naruto, you see very simple interactions typically become the foundation for a lot of these pairings, especially since Masashi Kishimoto said numerous times that he feels uncomfortable writing romance, especially when drawing the Naruto manga, hence why Naruto the Last was specifically handed to somebody that is very familiar with shoujo and romance writing when it came to writing the script for the actual movie. However, there's more to this pairing than just Kawaki suddenly discovering proper manners and calling Sarada by her name. When we consider the anime continuity, we're starting to see a trend that lines up with what we saw in the actual Naruto anime. Sasuke used to consistently call Sakura annoying, and now we're seeing Kawaki consistently call Sarada being nosy. In the anime, we see Sarada buy Kawaki flowers, which really stands out because in the manga, Sarada never did this. In the manga, it's actually Sakura who buys flowers for Sasuke, which makes total sense. They're married, and she tells Sarada to take the flowers home with her because Sakura's gonna run out and do some errands before Sasuke gets home. Now, in the anime, Sarada goes to the flower shop, and Ino specifically wonders, did Sarada buy those flowers for Kawaki? Now, a knee-jerk reaction might be, well, hey man, it's just flowers. It ain't that serious. You're reading too much into it. And I can totally see why you say this is just a friendly gesture to show that she's accepted him into the village. However, this is the thing. Sarada is smart enough to know the meaning behind the flowers that she actually bought for him. So the flowers that we see in the actual anime are pink flowers. In particular, they're Veronica flowers. Now, Veronica flowers are meant to symbolize love and fidelity. Now, Ino is somebody who's grown up around flowers and has been shown in the past explaining the meaning behind the names of flowers. She's very well versed when it comes to that. The reason why this is so important is that Ino would have caught something like that Sarada did, which is why you should look back at this scene a little bit differently, because this is clear foreshadowing. Flowers meant to show loyalty and fidelity. Being given to somebody whose heart knows only betrayal is a really big sign, and it's actually very clever writing by the anime team. Kawaki's father never truly loved him, and he would beat him for various reasons, and he didn't hesitate to sell him to Jigen for money. Even when Jigen warned him, "You'll never get your son back," he said, "Yo fam, go ahead and give me them dollar bills." Jigen had no problem subjecting Kawaki to experiments with the Karma Seal, and then later on with the actual ninja tech. In the Boruto anime, during the extra scenes for Kawaki's childhood, a child trafficker betrayed Kawaki's trust in an attempt to actually sell him. Kawaki, during his time in Konoha, was still adjusting to accepting the love and the support of the Uzumaki family that they were actually showing him. Sarada, after telling Kawaki that she would be there for him and that he could always depend on her, especially when she became the Hokage, is now being shown buying flowers that signify loyalty, showing that she's loyal to Kawaki and that she will always have his back, which is very important for a character that really has trust issues. Another thing of note is that one of the definitions for fidelity is a sexual faithfulness to one's spouse or one's partner. It's a form of devotion that runs deeper than just loyalty that one might have towards a friend. Take this moment of Sarada showing up with these flowers in the manga and add it to the fact that this is the first time that Kawaki ever called Sarada by her name. It's a very clever piece of writing to say that this is the moment where Kawaki was about to accept her loyalty and fidelity before life happened. Life being the arm that Naruto gave to Kawaki fell when Naruto got sealed away by Jigen. Another small thing of note is how the clan symbols on their back, while they are different, they do favor one another in a way that some fans have begun to take notice. Narratively, there's actually quite a bit to actually work here. So Sarada is typically a pretty stern character, but she has been shown moments breaking through that tough exterior in order to show tender moments to those that she cares for. In the case of Kawaki, her face was shown softening when she saw how much Kawaki cared for Naruto, and Sarada herself stated that there are times where she would wonder what her life would be like if Naruto was her father, which is a cheap plug. I've actually done a 3-part series, What If Naruto Married Sakura, that you should check out if you want to know what Sarada's life would be like. Now, she and Kawaki were essentially people that had fathers for drastically different reasons who were absent in their lives. Sarada had a father who was always away on S-rank missions, and Kawaki's father was emotionally distant, and his adopted father was both emotionally distant as well as emotionally manipulative. Now, in both cases, the father that Kawaki had physically beat on him. For Kawaki and Sarada, their meeting of Naruto forever changed them because it was the first male figure that both of them met that gave them a sense of security and optimism, as well as showed them what love feels like, especially for Kawaki, whose dark world was brightened by Naruto's life. Both share a desire to actually protect the village, which by extension means that they want to protect Naruto's Hokage. Sarada's dream is to become the Hokage, and while it seems as if Kawaki might have lost his way in the future, with it being implied that he's the one that destroyed the village, that makes Sarada's wish to become Hokage hit so much harder, especially when you look at the actual reunion that's going to happen with these two characters. Just as Naruto didn't give up on Sasuke despite everything that Sasuke did, Sarada won't give up on Kawaki. One bond was a bond between brothers, solidified by the promise that Naruto made to Sasuke's future wife to bring him back to the village. The other promise is one that Sarada made to Kawaki, in this case verbally by saying she will always be there for him, and symbolically with the Veronica flowers that the anime showed that she went out of her way to purchase for Kawaki. The link between these two characters is Naruto, and the writing has been very subtle when it comes to this. When you look at the actual scene, when Sarada sits next to Kawaki and comforts him, she's in the exact same position that Naruto is in when Naruto comforted her in Naruto Gaiden. Naruto's positive influence on both of them is the bond that brings these two characters together. The Uzumaki household has shown Kawaki what it means to have a true family, with Naruto openly calling him his son in the manga, and Boruto repeatedly calling Kawaki his brother brother in the anime, but Sarada has been showing Kawaki what it means to not only have a true friend while also laying the subtle foundation for there being something more existing between these characters. It's actually very clever conditioning of fans to embrace this pairing in a very similar way to what Orochimaru stated that Danzo did to the root operative that Kabuto called Mother, where he brainwashed her over time by showing her various pictures of people that look like Kabuto, changing the face very slowly over time so as to make Mother forget what Kabuto actually looked like. That way, when she had to kill Kabuto, she would do so without realizing it was him. For Sarada and Kawaki, we have the Veronica flowers, but we also have very smaller moments meant to plant those seeds in your mind. When we first get to the scene where they have the taiyaki, Kawaki doesn't allow Sarada to bite off a bit of his, which Naruto explains to Kawaki was a missed opportunity to share a special moment with Sarada. Sarada and Kawaki, they had two separate flavors. By biting off a bit of the food that Kawaki had, the flavors would mix together in her mouth, and she would taste both the flavor that Kawaki had as well as it would mix with the leftover flavor that was inside of her mouth, making for a slightly new flavor for Sarada to experience, and vice versa if Kawaki had done the same. Seems innocent, but it's actually pretty clever. And it's the same when you look at the fact that this is how it works with people. Two different people being brought together, and one day they could build a life together, and dare I say, even bring a child into this world together. The anime's further planted seeds in the minds of viewers by having Kawaki remember this very moment in the scene in the hospital when he took the suggestion of getting the custard flavored dish, Kawaki expressing how much he liked it, and then remembering that he didn't share his taiyaki with Sarada in the past. The subtle hints continue to build up with Kawaki being shown comfortable enough to grab Sarada by the hand. In the anime during the Boro fight especially, Kawaki grabbed Sarada's hand and he held onto it the entire explanation of how Boro's powers work. He could have grabbed her shoulder, he could have grabbed her arm, hell, he could have been risky and grabbed her by the waist. But he grabbed her by the hand and he continued to hold on to it. It's a subconscious sign of how much Sarada has warmed his heart during the short time that they've been together. This hits home even harder after you realize that this takes place after Sarada and Kawaki shared their moment where they sat beside one another outside of Naruto's house while she spoke the words of encouragement to him. Even in the promotional material that we've been getting for the Boruto franchise, we've been seeing these characters positioned next to each other, much in the same way that Sasuke and Sakura were oftentimes in promotional material for Naruto's manga, being positioned right next to one another as well. A good example would be the Boruto manga cover where you have Sarada standing next to Kawaki and she's being shown with her eyes looking directly at Kawaki. However, a better example and a more accurate example would be how in the 2019 Weekly Shonen Jump promo for Naruto to Boruto the Live, it showed the two of them together on the same page. It's very subtle, but it's constantly seeing the two of them together on promos. It's something that very much mirrors what you saw with Sasuke and Sakura back in the day, where they were always on promos together, and this was around the time that Naruto's popularity began to skyrocket as an actual manga. While we aren't that far from the moment where a lot of fans say that Kawaki almost tried to kill Sarada, despite the fact that Kawaki himself said that that wasn't something he was going to do, which is consistent with him more than once acknowledging Sarada's power. Let's just say this is correct. You gotta remember, Sasuke tried to kill Sakura a dozen times and her panties got wet over each and every time, and they actually ended up having a baby together. So there's a pretty good chance that Sarada either inherited the psychopath gene from the Uchiha clan, where love makes them do very crazy things, or she inherited the crazy gene from Sakura, where almost getting killed gets Sarada super wet, and all of a sudden Sarada's thinking about Kawaki going balls deep inside of her. The two of them being hot-headed and clashing makes a lot of sense regardless of whichever stance you take. So both of them have fire release as their main affinity, which means that their flames combined have the potential to burn everything down. It's a very chaotic relationship when you look at it from that perspective. But you have to remember, in nature, fire is also used for cleansing. It's meant to burn down the old so that new life can sprout up afterwards, just like this is a new generation of ninja, just like this is a new generation of lovers. However, that's gonna be it for today's video. So we're gonna raise the like goal on this one. So if we can hit 5,000 likes, I'll make a video going over every single detailed sign that Kawaki and Sarada will end up together, and there's actually quite a bit. Smash that like button, it costs you absolutely nothing, and it will definitely make Himawari smile, so smash the like button. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.